Hi, everyone. I am here with some exciting news for everyone regarding the Urban Financial Services Coalition 50th anniversary convention celebration, which was held at the Federal Reserve Bank at Kansas City. My name is Walter Brown. I am on the National Board of Directors with the Urban Financial Services Coalition and the Multiple Strategies Working Committee. And I have with me today, I'm very excited to have with me two of the attendees from the conference. You're going to get a lot of good information from them about the conference and why you should be interested in it. First of all, we have Damita Barbee. I'm going to read Damita's bio. Damita J. Barbee is a senior consultant with D. Barbee and Associates, an event planning and management company. Through her personal, professional, and educational experiences, she has become an enthusiastic and creative leader, assisting companies and individuals in achieving their optimum goals for special events. Prior to her current position, Ms. Barbee enjoyed 35 distinguished years in financial services with major financial institutions, including Bank of America and Wells Fargo, as well as the Mechanics Bank. Ms. Barbee served as the national president of NAUB UFSC twice, 1989 and 2005. She also held the positions of national vice president, national secretary, and more. Active in her community, Ms. Barbee serves on the board of directors as the Bay Area Christian Movement for the Poor and continues to mentor young women and men on career strategies in the financial services field. Celebrating 10 years in 2024 as a double lung transplant recipient. Wow. She is an ambassador for Donor Network West and is a certified mentor for the National Lung Transplant Association. Ms. Barbee also serves as an advisor for the UFSC San Francisco Bay Area chapter and is a member of the UFSC Multiple Strategies Working Committee. And I might also mention she's one of the most successful national presidents in UFC history. Next, Mr. Jasper Smith, who is straight to the point right now. And Jasper's bio is, I'm going to add to this bio. So I'm going to read what he says and I'm going to put mine on it. Jasper has been involved in the financial services arena for over 15 years. He currently works as a financial planner with Prudential, and he's a chief visionary behind a financial education company called the Build Wealth Movement. He works tirelessly to disrupt generational poverty for everyone so their kids, and kids' can have a life of privilege. Jasper also serves as the Western Regional Vice President for the Urban Financial Services Coalition. He is on the National Board of Directors for the Urban Financial Services Coalition, and he is a husband and a dad of a beautiful little girl who is a rock star. So with that, we will now go into our fabulous discussion. These folks have brought back some real golden gems for us from the meeting that was held at the Federal Reserve Bank at Kansas City. And I'd like to start with you, Damita, if I may, and ask the question I'm going to ask you and Jasper. Can you tell us about the highlights of the conference, what your experience was, what your thoughts were after having attended? Please share it with us.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me and letting me participate in this thought-provoking session. The conference itself was one that was really historic because you're talking about 50 years of an organization comprised of primarily African Americans in the financial services industry. Up on a very, very warm, welcoming reception, seeing people that I hadn't seen for at least 5 to 20 years for some. And for my moderator, Charles Stewart, I hadn't seen him for like 25 years. It was really sort of like a homecoming. Yes, we were missing some major players from the NAUB side, but what I was most impressed with was the enthusiasm of the next generation financial services professionals such as our own Jasper and this young grouping of people in Kansas City. There's like a new breed of young people that are willing to step up to the plate and to show what it takes to be a professional in this industry that is still sort of discriminating against us. And I'd say that with a heavy heart because we should be further along. But they're willing to step up and say, we are here to make a difference. We are here to serve the communities that we live and work in. And even more so, I want to do better and achieve my goals just like everyone else. So those are the high points that I saw. The speakers were just incredible. There was not one speaker that I did not enjoy, but one particular session that I thought was really neat was when they looked at the different levels of professionals, starting with, I guess, us old timers, the baby boomers, and then the Gen X's and what have you. And it showed the different mindsets of these different groups and what their shortcomings were and what they could accomplish. I thought that was a very dynamic session because we need to give a lot of thought as to what next and how can people like a Damita Barbee, like a Walter Brown, can add to the advancement of these young people. And I call them young because they were like 35 years old, and a lot of them were not quite 40. So I was really amazed, but it sort of reminded me of when I first joined the organization also. But I just want to make sure that they understand there will be trials and tribulations as they try to accomplish all of their goals, but that they just need to be very, something buzzing around me. I'm sorry, I thought I heard some buzzing in my ear. But I want them to be aware that if they stick to their guns and always represent themselves honestly and professionally, because that makes a big difference when you're people of color, that they can achieve anything. So those were my thoughts of the conference.
That is awesome, Damita. Thank you. All right. Hey, it would have been great to be in that room for all of us who are watching this video. And thank you for sharing this. Jasper, why don't we go over to you now, and why don't you share with us?
Yeah, Walter. I mean, I'll echo some of Demita's points. For me, it was like a reunion. There's been so much time in between since I've seen a lot of the people that I was able to reconnect with in Kansas City. I've been a longtime member, and I think each of you kind of remember when I first joined the San Francisco chapter. I was a young single guy. Now I'm a younger married father. So
Yes.
just being able to kind of share some of those stories with people I haven't seen in a while. And I think just the energy in the room. Like, I think one, if anybody has, I should probably say, not many people may have experienced a session in the Federal Reserve Bank anywhere in this country. And so we're fortunate enough to have that relationship here in San Francisco. But it was just a cool experience to be in the Federal Reserve Bank in Kansas City. Just the information that we have access to, the level of seniority in terms of like having presidents there. I think that's pretty cool just to have people of some notoriety within our economic system that we could put our hands on. Like they were right there in the room next at the table. I was sitting at the table that was beside me. It's just a cool experience to kind of soak up as a still kind of an up and comer in the financial services industry. And then listening to a panel that Damita was on, where you have past presidents and each of them sharing stories of what it used to be like when they got that job, that first job in banking, or trying to move up the ranks and deal with racism and sexism and all the other isms that people of color deal with. And I'm like, yeah, we still deal with that today. It looks a little bit different, but it's in some regards the exact same experience. And it was cool to kind of hear how they navigated those challenges because to Damita's point, my generation handles problems a little bit differently than her generation. And I'm like, I might have got fired because I might have said something. But understanding that they were making a bigger play by not being as vocal. Hey, you know what it is, but here's how we're going to use this to our advantage. And so listening to those stories, and I think the kicker for me was I was coming back in from one of the breaks, and we were doing kind of a networking event or networking activity. And all I hear this gentleman say is, yeah, at one point in my career, I opened up a bank. And I'm like, I need to know him. Like, there's a guy in the room who said, I started a bank. I made a beeline
Wow.
to meet that gentleman before I
Wow.
left that kind. I have his cell phone number. I'm going to consider him one of my best friends now. But that is the caliber of people that were in that room. Where how many people know somebody who started a bank or a financial institution of
Yes.
any magnitude? And this guy just said it like it was him talking about sport. Yeah, I opened up a bank and blah. I'm like, whoa, did y'all catch that? I need to know this guy. So it's those types of experiences that I know that a lot of us may yearn for, but it was right there in that room for those couple of days in Kansas City.
That is fantastic, Jasper. Thank you, Damita. Thank you, Jasper. You know, the quote that comes to my mind is uh, action beats inaction. And you folks took action. You got on a plane, you got out to Kansas City, you had to go through the security clearances to be admitted to the Federal Reserve for the events. You were there, you took in information, you networked, you went outside yourself to meet other people, you learned new things. And as we know, different parts of the country are different cultures. So you also had the opportunity to mesh in with the Eastern style of talking and networking, the South and so on. And you're stimulating our imaginations right now. And Walt Disney said that imagination trumps knowledge. So the more we can imagine. And so you're stimulating us right now. And the last thing is you talked about discrimination and so forth. The Government Accountability Office just did another report showing how, yeah, there's still discrimination in the financial services industry. And Atlantic Magazine did a report about that as well. So there's a lot of work yet to be done. And we definitely have a place here. But let me go to the next question. I'm just really grateful for what you've shared so far. Damita, in terms of what points can we get or what that we should be taking away from what you got being at that event? Are there any points of application that we should be thinking about or any other thoughts that you'd like to share with us, having been privileged to be at that 50th convention?
Well, for me, personally, it was getting to meet that next generation. I am sort of fascinated with them because they have the enthusiasm and they're very, very intelligent, which, I'm very critical as to your knowledge, and that they're willing to share all of this knowledge with each other. And to me, I think that's very important because a lot of times you find people who don't want to share their knowledge. Our
Yeah.
organization, when you look at the premise of this organization, it's all about sharing the knowledge that we have for the advancement of all, not just a few, but for all. And when
Mm.
I was there, that's what I gathered. These young people, and some that were not young, they all wanted to share their story. Let me tell you about what I do. Let me tell you about how this organization helped me. It was all about how they could come together as a group. And even the corporate sponsors were very, extremely complimentary about the organization. Even though we were in
Mm.
Kansas City, we talk about the Fed in San Francisco, where we've had a long relationship, the Fed in New York, where there's a relationship. And so you look at
Mhm.
even corporate sponsors who know that a partnership with us can only increase their brand in the communities where they don't have a great reputation or they are not as exposed as they should be. And I think that those are things that I took away from it, that you have the boots on the ground with these young people that are ready to say, here we are, we'll take on what you can't do. We could take these products and services to our communities and we could do a darn good job with it.
Mm.
And that's where I see the organization going. And that's what really kept me sort of fascinated. for the couple of days that I was there. It was that enthusiasm, but even more so the warmth and the way they welcomed you. I just found that to be extremely, extremely a big plus.
Awesome. Wow. Thank you, Damita.
You're welcome.
Jasper, what can you share with us?
I felt safe in that space.
Huh.
A lot of us in our respective careers are one of a large department or team. And you hear the story, well, I'm the only one in my department. I'm the only female. I'm the only male. We hear the story, but in that room, I felt safe. I can be exactly who I need to be in this room. And I'm not worried about the recourse because I know the people in this room understand what I go through on a daily basis. And I was fortunate enough to serve on a diversity, equity, and inclusion panel. And that was part of our discussion where we see, some of the powers that be are trying to do away with DEI measures and initiatives across the country. And I just said, how many spaces do we have like this where we can be this open and honest and transparent about our concerns and our challenges, but also celebrating our wins. So it's how many of us have that safe? I just felt real comfortable. Like, I mean, the setting was nice, like the chairs were good. So like I physically I felt comfortable, but then in terms of the engagement and just it felt genuine. Like to Damita's point, like having the support and sponsorship from all these various organizations, we still were able to be who we were. Like we didn't have to put on a front or a show when we walk through those doors. And I know a lot of us in our careers, unfortunately, we can't be our authentic selves. And I felt like everybody there felt like it's okay for me to be who I truly am on a daily basis. And I just think that gives me a level of comfort in knowing that I have that space that I can work in and practice and stumble and fall, but then having those elders who are like, hey, here's how you might want to look at that. Like I know the issue's like here, but here's how we dealt with this back in the day. Try this out. And so you kind of you can feel that energy. Like you could just it was just oozing through the walls where if you walked into that space and you didn't know who we were, you would have felt right at home. Like that's how comfortable I felt having these discussions about, business and the economy. But it was like, no, this is all family here. And I think for a lot of people who are trying to figure out, is there an organization where I can, obtain that type of feeling? Maybe the Urban Financial Services Coalition is something you should consider because having grown up through the organization and maintained these relationships, I feel honored to be a part of a group that I've always been allowed to be my authentic self.
That's spectacular. Thank you, Jasper. So, we're not going to take a lot of time on our discussion because the viewers are busy. We're just going to tell them you should have been there. And there was just amazing interactions that occurred at the event. And take a look at where we are. Before I close, though, Damita or Jasper, do you have any final thoughts that you want to share?
I personally would just like to add, for those of you who are watching and hearing how we felt about the national conference, I encourage you to get involved locally. There are so many opportunities for you to interact and to grow within your career. And as Jasper said, to be your authentic self while you're getting involved in helping your communities, helping yourself, helping your families. There is so much that the organization can offer you. And who am I to say? I've only been around 42 years, so that says a lot. Thank you.
Right on, Damita, right on. Jasper, how about you?
Yeah, I think for me, I know where the organization used to be, and I want to bring it back to that prominence where it was like you were the cool kid if you were a part of the Urban Financial Services Coalition, and listening to all the stories of how important the organization was to the industry and how the industry had to make sure that they were at our conferences. Like that's exciting. Like you give people that's why I remain a part of the organization that I want to get it back to a level to where we're having that same type of impact on our communities, in business, in our respective, professional, personal lives. Like I just enjoyed just hearing the stories and being able to say, I know that person. I've heard their story. I have their email. I have a personal connection. They're not just somebody who I'm watching on the internet. Like I was able to, how many people can say they've met multiple Fed presidents within a 48-hour span? Yeah, I met like 3 of them. So my network has enhanced substantially by being a part of this organization. And then I think that's another reason as to why people should consider being connected with us, is that my network expands across this country and the globe. And so if you are seeking or looking for something of that sort, we welcome you with open arms.
That is awesome, Jasper. I concur. So I would like to say, again, my name is Walter Brown, and I am glad to be part of this discussion with Ms. Damita Barbee and Mr. Jasper Smith. I'm looking forward to getting the recording of this video out to some of my personal friends. I just received a communication from a member of the U.S. Congress who follows us, who asked me for some advice because they know that I'm connected with the Urban Financial Services Coalition. So I'm going to be sharing this video with them. I also last week got a communication from a mayor who shall remain nameless of one of the largest cities in the United States, who asked me for some advice because they know that I'm connected to this organization and I have a sense of what's happening nationally because of my conversations with folks in the Midwest, as well as on the East Coast, Southwest, and the Pacific Northeast. So this video will be going out to them as well. And we would encourage you to, as follow Damita and Jasper's advice, take a look at us at ufscnet.org. Take a look at us at Urban Financial Services Coalition on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. And at our .org page, join, become a member, and you have an opportunity. The Urban Financial Services Coalition will put you in rooms that you can't get in by yourself, and you can make yourself into an even better version of yourself working with us. With that, we're going to close at this moment. Thank you. We're sending you all wishes of peace and blessings from ufscnet.org. Bye-bye.